Today we're going to be building a gabion, aka a gabion. You can say it a bunch of different ways and you can build them a bunch of different ways. Today we're going to be using some 2" by 2" angle iron and some 3/16 gauge wire mesh spaced at 3 inches. This method today can be built and scaled into many different sizes and shapes. We're going to be building a small one just so it's easy to film and get done. And come on, let's jump on into it. Let's get into it. Let's go. Let's get started. So in order to build these correctly, we're going to build a top and a bottom loop with mitered corners and then some straight cut inserts for the vertical posts. So in order to get this started, I've set up a stop here for my saw at 14 inches. So I've got some drop pieces here. I'm going to start cutting them up. So the first one you're going to do, set your miter up this way. Just put it in past where the blade's going to hit. So you're not wasting material. Lock it in. Minimal waste. Now we're going to take this piece, slide it up against our stop. Lock it in. Change the miter. This gives us our first piece. We need 7 more of these for the top and the bottom loop, and then we'll cut our straights and then we can get to welding. Next thing we're going to do is clean up our sharp edges and bevel this inside seam here so that we can get a nice weld on the inside. Now that we've got our parts cut, we're going to weld up our top and bottom loop. And then once those are together, we'll join them with the upright, which get recessed into the frame. And then we'll cut our mesh, weld it in, and we'll have a gabion. Now you'll notice that I'm not welding this inside seam here. And the reason for that is these have to get put in there. And if you weld, you end up having to grind all this off and it just becomes a big headache. So what we do is make sure that this joint is very strong. And then when we weld this in there, we can weld it here and there. And it holds the whole thing together. And then if needed, we could touch this outside up. That's hot. All right, nice and square, so we'll lock this in. These are some cheap Harbor Freight clamps. You can cut the bottom off and weld you a piece of bar stock to match your jig table at a nice angle. If you're just getting started and you need some tooling, here's a cheap way to do it. Now that we've got this whole thing squared up, measuring corner to corner and getting our lengths right, just went ahead and clamped the whole thing up. Gonna weld it up next, and then we'll go ahead and add some steel mesh in and finish this thing up. Now that we got our steel cage welded up, we're going to cut some wire mesh to fit inside. And the way we're going to measure that is we're going to just subtract 2 inches from each height, since this is 2-inch material, and that'll set our mesh 1 inch up on the sides. That way we have some wiggle room to make sure it gets straight and we're not fighting to get it in there. All right, so we got our wire mesh cut, our frame's ready. We're gonna weld it in. Another reason why we cut it a little short, so you're not trying to get all the way to the bottom in here, is it makes it easier to get in. Now, one little trick, if you notice on welded wire, obviously one wire's on, verticals are on one side, horizontals on the other. If you look in here, since we recessed this, this drops down. So the best way to put these in is with the horizontals nesting in there. And you'll see that naturally lets them touch down here, and these touch here. Try and get a good distance in here if you can, so it looks centered. Looks good to me. I also like to line these bars up with these bars, just so it has a nice aesthetic appearance. So here we have it, a custom gabion. Fill it with rock, put a planter on it, whatever you like. Make these any size. Pretty cool. I hope you got some good tips and tricks out of this. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.